Hello, colleagues. This will be quick. We passed 5K downloads for working hours at the beginning of February 2025. The show had over 236 downloads this January. That's more than double last January's 129 downloads. This month, we've had 230 downloads in 27 days, and we're 20 downloads away from hitting 6K total. We will only grow more. Podcast advertising is currently seen as the holy grail of online advertising. It puts your brand in front of an audience that already trusts the host they're listening to. It places your brand directly into the ears and, if you use video, the eyes of potential customers who are more likely to be more sympathetic to your message. Would you like my growing audience to hear about you? Would you like your message here or in the show? Vendors selling bigger ticket items would be the best for this, as you need to make less new sales to cover ad costs than someone who needs to shift a lot more units to cover their spend. Plus, the small nature of my existing audience means you want to be selling something people always buy, but will probably buy less frequently. Help me keep making working hours by buying ad space for your Leeds business, and I can keep bringing my show to its growing audience and help your message to reach more people. Help me keep providing working hours to my listeners for free. Buy space on the podcast for your message. Now is the best time to bag yourself a sponsorship or in-show ad read on working hours. By becoming a support partner for working hours now, you're reaching my growing online audience immediately. Your support will also help me straight away to continue making, improving, and growing this show. Free episodes of Working Hours are ending soon, but there could still be a long road ahead for this project if we can find the small amount of funds we need to keep it going. That means there could still be a lot more audience growth to come. Take maximum advantage now of getting your message on Working Hours by partnering with the show today. That way, more people will hear your message more often over more time, and those potential customers, especially if you bought in-show ad read, will still be hearing your message well after you've paid for it. I've added this message to over 165 episodes of Working Hours, and you could do that too. There's also mid-roll and end-roll spaces, as well as in-show ad read options. Go to patreon.com/c/working-hours-pod/shop, or just go to patreon.com, look up working hours, and then go to shop. You can find off-the-shelf ad space options that are very cheap, so you can buy through there, or drop me an email at workinghourspod@western-studios.com to discuss further or better options. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoy the show. Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. What is happening? Welcome to Series 6 of Working Hours, an oral history podcast about a place called Leeds, a time called now, and an activity called work. Working Hours aims to record 1,000 loiners, that's people from Leeds, over the course of this, the most important decade in the history of the human species, and ask them about what they do all day and hear how they feel about it. My name is Simon, and this is all my fault. My mission here is to try to map out what my city, Leeds, a city that has declared a climate emergency, did during humanity's biggest emergency. On Working Hours, we hear how loiners have, are, and will be coping with our multiple and expanding crises during their day-to-day working hours. Can we turn things around? We'll find out. To tell this story, I need loiners like you, dear listener. I need people in Leeds or people from Leeds to come on this podcast and tell me about what they do and let me record how this decade affects us. These are long-form interviews meant to challenge the short attention span content economy. That means they aren't always easy listening, but in my view, they are all worth listening to. They all tell us something about our guest, our city, and our time, not to mention something of what it's like to do that job and how someone got into that job. You're helping this project right now by being a listener, and I'd love for you to consider becoming a guest or a supporter of this project. Thank you for listening to this episode. What did you want to be when you grew up?
As a kid, I wanted to be a police officer.
Okay.
Weirdly enough, and then became a bit of a criminal, if I'm honest. But I said, but the wanted to be a police officer. Always as a kid, I wanted to be a police officer.
Was that just from seeing it in media and how it was held in regard in society?
I think that was down to like watching Sweeney and Professionals and Darsky and Hutch and stuff like that, and Chips. You know, all those childhood things. It's like, you know, I think I wanted to be in California Highway Patrol, if I'm perfectly honest with you. You know, but that wasn't going to happen with a lad from Beeston. You know what I mean?
Cool helmets and sunglasses.
Indeed, it was the boots that got me.
You're listening to Series 6, Episode 12, and to my guest, Dean Smith. This is another Squadcast recording recorded on the 3rd of March, 2025. Hello, colleagues. Dean Smith's current job role, other than that of recovery runners, is Warehouse Operative for AW Hainsworths in Leeds. There he deals with the curing, sizing and packing of cloth to be sent to fashion houses and militaries all across the world, and also the royal family, just to name drop. Is this the shortest bio I've ever read on the show? I don't know. Right, let's do this. Episode 167 of Working Hours with Dean Smith. So I'm going to go straight from that into what are you doing now?
What we're doing now, I work now for a textile mill called AW Hainsworths over in Pudsey in Leeds. I've worked there for just coming up to 3 years, and I started there. I started in the department that sends out textiles for airlines and planes, trains, and automobiles. And so, you know, not just the carpeting, but what the seats are made from, and the fireproof walling and what have you that go into planes. So I started in that, and I started helping a guy that in the fashion area. And once he left, I took his role, and I deal with basically all the fashion houses in the world: Ralph Lauren, Victoria Beckham, Balenciaga, all that, like Gucci and all them, and I also deal with the Ministry of Defence and military, up all from Australian Defence to the Danish Army and to our own, to the Irish Guards and Coldstream Guards, the guys with Busbies outside Buckingham Palace. That red that they wear, I sent it all for all the cloth for King Charles's coronation, all that cloth and all the family's clothes, all that cloth went through my hands, which was pretty cool, to be fair.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
So there is still some of the textiles industry left in Leeds.
Yes, there is, and I think it's one of the last standing. 1783 they opened their doors. Wow. 1783, and he started off where he wanted. The story goes that the wool that he was getting wasn't standard enough for something or other, so he decided to make it into textiles. And they basically made the uniforms for the, you know, Charge of the Light Brigade. You've heard of that, haven't you? Yeah, they made their uniforms, and the first RAF, when RAF were founded in World War One, they made the uniforms for them, and that's how it started with MOD, and they've got the royal warrant as well. So it's you know, year after year they have to apply for that, but they get that. And was it last year Prince Kate, she came round to and had a tour around, because it works out that her family millennia ago owned the mill that they bought. So there was some sort of a loose connection there, and with it being the Commonwealth as well, because we send a lot of stuff out to Canada and stuff like that. So it's all about part of Commonwealth. But yeah, it's an interesting job. You know, don't get me wrong. A lot of it's warehouse stuff, and in winter it's that cold you can't move, and in summer it's that hot you can't move. But you know, it's you know, I was born and bred to work in warehouses, if I'm honest. Even though I wanted to be a police officer, started in a warehouse at 16, battered about with some other bits in between, but ended up in a warehouse again.
So the next question is how you got into it, but you've kind of alluded to some of that. So you've only been there for the last sort of 3 years. Was it the warehouse background that got you it, or were you like, I'm well into textiles?
Oh yeah, I'm well into textiles. Yeah, no, it was the warehouse background, and that the ability to to pick things up pretty quick where warehouses are concerned. You show me how to do it a couple of times and bang them off, and a lot. So I turned up in a three-piece suit. Thought I checked it up on Google, and I thought it's quite a posh gaff. This, you know what I mean? It's quite a prestigious gaff. So I put a three-piece suit on, turned up, and who is now my manager. She came down. She went, "You do realise you'll be working at warehouse, don't you?" And I went, "I'll just take my jacket off, love." You know what I mean? And that's what I ended up doing. I was packing rolls of cloth for. I think it was for Virgin Airlines or something like that, in a three-piece suit with my jacket thrown out on the table outside of me, and I think with that, my background in warehousing and what have you, stood me in good stead. But I had quite a past of warehouse manager, deputy manager, team leader, supervisor, that sort of stuff. So, I just wanted to be just on shop floor, back to being a bit of an oppo. You know what I mean? Just back in, no responsibilities. Just tell me what I need to do, and I'll do it 110%. That's how. And I think that's been more of a thing during sobriety, more than beforehand. You know what I mean? It's that what there's that little bit of wanting to please, and there's that little bit of I've taken for so long. I want to give back. So most people in recovery work harder than normal people, whatever normal is.
So we may as well expand on that. So you mentioned sobriety there. So you're also on the podcast to discuss another thing that you are involved with. So do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, when I say sobriety, I've been sober for 18 years now. I
Wow.
it took me to that point where it was either death or sobriety. I ended up homeless, 7.5 stone, double incontinent, not well at all, suicide attempts, the lot. And I still didn't think it was alcohol that were causing those problems. I thought it was everybody else, and I thought I was a bit mental, and I was a bit mental. I was a lot mental, but I didn't realise that at the time, and it took me to the gates of hell, basically, and I eventually in November 2006 went to a 12-step program, and I've been part of that 12-step program for the last 18 years. I still go to this day, and people have said, "Why do you still go after 18 years?" Da, 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 da. It's because I need to remind myself who I am. As soon as I forget that I'm an alcoholic, and that if I can have another drink, I'll be all right, then I'm in real trouble. And plus, there's people still coming indoors that need help. And there were people there to give help to me freely when I walked in. And therefore I'm there to do exactly the same. And then from that, really, it's 18 years sounds like a long time, but it also feels like yesterday. It's I can still remember. I caused a lot of pain to people, especially family. Not an awful lot of people, and but by going through the 12 steps, I've been able to make recompense and amends for things in my past, and try to get out of bed on a daily basis without trying to upset anybody, without just trying to do the next right thing, and from that comes everything. I went to this 12-step program. I'm very, very careful that I don't say it, because they can get a bit funny about it. I'm usually not bothered, to be honest with you. I'm a bit of a rebel, but I don't want to go upsetting people. And from that, I went there. I didn't even know if I wanted to get sober. I just thought I was going to go there and they were going to teach me how to drink properly, because it was my head that was messed up. That was it. To teach me how to drink properly, I'll be all right.
Yeah, when to say stop, and I can just control it, and I can still have it.
Yeah, that's it. But I tried all that before. I tried detoxes. I tried home detoxes. I ended up being hospitalised and detoxes after suicide attempts. I tried hypnotism. Which I look back on now and I think, what were they thinking? I roll up drunk, with a bottle of Lucasade. Not all Lucasade, obviously. And you sit in these recliner chairs and they put needles in your ears, relaxation. And then I'd wake up after like falling asleep. I was that relaxed with everybody staring at me, going, because I've been snoring my head off because I was half drunk. You know what I mean? And I tried that, and then I tried therapy, and I tried, whoa, countless doctors, countless therapists, Leeds Addiction Unit, ADS, Alcohol and Drug Services, all these things, and none of it worked because I lied and I wasn't ready. So I just lied about how much I drank, and I lied about everything else. And
were you going? Were you being told to go, or were you taking yourself?
by that point, I was under instructions from absolutely everybody else. But because did I want to go? I think I did, because initially I think I wanted, I wanted to get my son back. I wanted to get my wife back. My ex-wife. Sorry, I wanted to get all these things back. Sorry, I'm just trying to put my charger in. And so it was for all wrong reasons. I want ready to be sober, and it's not about just stopping drinking. It's about being sober in here as well. It's and then controlled drinking. That would even worse, because once I have a drink, I can't stop. That I have no shut off until I pass out, and even then I wake up in a wet bed, and first thing I do is reach for a drink every time. And uh, so control drinking were a nightmare. Like, have a drink on a morning, I would drink at lunchtime, I would drink at tea, and it was murder. It were like putting pins in your eyes. But obviously in between, I would. I need to go to the shop to get some cigarettes, and then I come back with some sort of alcohol, and hide it in bins and all the way home, and just lie. They turned me into a liar and a deviant, and it turned me into an horror story. And it got to a point where I was like, I remember my last drink. I'd just come out of hospital from a suicide attempt, my third suicide attempt of that year. And I come out of hospital and I'd been cleaned out, and I'd been pumped full of thiamine, vitamin B compound, and all sorts of stuff to stop me drinking. So I wasn't doing the shaking and everything else. And as soon as my mum pulled away in a taxi, would help me with that. By this point, I got out in emergency accommodation, which was basically an house full of people with issues, and as soon as she went, I went for a drink. I didn't physically want it, but that mental obsession was there, and I stood over this sink, and I threw up, and then second time I threw up, and then when the third time I threw up again, I just said to myself, I can't do this anymore. What I can't do it anymore. I don't know where that came from. I just said I can't do it anymore, and that was 13th of November 2006, and I've not had a drink since.
Well done, congratulations.
You know when you've had enough. I mean, I tried countless times, but I could never stop. I could never stay stopped. That's the thing. I could stop, but I could never stay stopped. And I still didn't go to the 12-step program for about another week. I tried it in summer of 2006, around June, July. I can't remember when. 2006 was a bit of a blur, if I'm perfectly honest with you. And it wasn't for me. I was like, yeah, whatever. It's all right for you. This ain't happened to you. That's it's and it was like, all a bunch of, well, you're all a bunch of knobheads. What am I sitting in here for? Basically. So I tried to stop I stopped for 3 months, and then I celebrated with a drink. I was mental. It took my capacity to live in this world. It took that away from me. I lived in a world. I lived in Dean's world. I lived in a world where black were white. I would argue that the sky was pink when it's blue. You know what I mean? In my head, it was pink. It was. I was detached from reality. You see these guys walking around talking to themselves, and I couldn't completely get that, because that wasn't far off for me. Either that or graveyard. And so from getting sober, not knowing how we're going to get sober like I did, all these other things happen, like relationships, like friends. What happened there? Because most of my friends by that point had either I'd binned them off, or I was out of control and they didn't know which Dean they were going to get. It could be nice Dean who likes crying at the end of a drink, or other Dean that starts off all right and then starts throwing chairs around place. I was just unpredictable. And so then I go to this 12-step program, and people welcome me with open arms, cup of tea, an handshake, hugs. Whoa, that would have been weird to start off with, I can't lie to you. Phone numbers. Why do you want my phone number? You know, that sort of stuff. Because my head were like, why do you want this? Everybody had an agenda. Generally me. But I was like, what do you want from me? And they wanted no from me. All they wanted was me to get sober and stay sober. And then day after I go to a 12-step meeting, and some of the people that were in that first meeting were there. And they were happy to see me. And I can't tell you the last time before that I walked in somewhere and people were happy to see me. You know, they were, oh my God, he's here again. You know, and then that's how my journey started, you know, and I did what, you know, I listened, I did what was suggested. And I got on 12 steps, you know, and I went through them, and I still continue to go through them on a daily basis, take other people through them. And then from joining it, you know, these friendships flourished, relationships flourished. I met my wife in there, you know, which she was in there, so like we were in a nut house. You know, but you know, obviously that's frowned upon, because it's like people are open wounds and raw nerves when it comes to love and lust, and the borderline between it is very shady, very grey area. You know, but we've been together this month we've been together 18 years, and in May we've been married 16. So you know, it kind of works occasionally.
So, but that's not the organisation that you want to tell us about. So there's more to it.
The lead up to it, this is the thing. It's like myself and Jamie. Oh, you're going to hear from it another time. We founded Recovery Runners, Recovery Runners Community, not Recovery Runners Running Club. You know, and even though it's only a change in one word, it's a big difference. Because I find that from my experience, because I find clubs there's rules, and there's you know, internal battles, and there's egos, and there's people want to outdo other people, and whereas this is community, we want it to be a community. Community means family, you know, and that might sound a bit moonies and a bit culty, but you know, that's how it works. And we both, Jamie and myself, knew the correlation between physical exercise and positive mental health. Now, before that started, I'd have said that was a lot of old hogwash. You know, there was a lot of rubbish. I was going to the gym, going to make my head feel better. How is running going to make me feel better? When I run for a bus, I don't feel right. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna, you know, most I could do was run a bath. So when it came to running, I was like, nah. So we'd actually, a friend of ours did Commando Fit. It's a bit like boot camp up at Temple Newsham in Leeds, and we went along to that, and he got right into it. He'll tell you all his story about it. And I did it, and I was like, but you were going up there in winter, crawling on your belly through field, and you're like, what am I crawling through here? You know, and it got to a point where I didn't really want to do that anymore. But the running side of it, I started getting into that. So I did my first race, the Abbey Dash in Leeds in 2017, in the November. First one, 10K. You know, and then from that, it went from there, really. You know, and so my running, I'd been running, what, about 4 years before Recovery Runners came along. And I joined South Leeds Lakers, because I lived in Beeston at the time. And they met around the corner from me. And weirdly enough, I'd seen their vests at this running event in Temple Newsham. And I was like, all right, South Leeds, I wonder where they are. You know, Facebook. Oh, and they met at Co-op up from Ellen Road. They met there. And I messaged them and said, oh, can I come? And they said, oh, yeah, come round. Come back 20 minutes earlier, fill forms in. I went, right. Turned up, there was a lad that I went to school with it a year ago, taking register. You know, and then there were another couple of lads I went to school with, but then friendships were born then. But friendships still were born in that area because I was open about my recovery, and I was open about my mental health. So people came and spoke to me. You know, you end up running with people and be going, oh, my head's a bit wappy, you know what I mean? And you just talk. No, I'm not there to give advice or point them in the direction of what to do. It's just to get a lot of times, just to listen, you know. And then I became the the chairman. I put my name forward to be chairman after a couple of years, and you had to put in a manifesto what you want to do in your term, what you want to do. And the one before did based on mental health. So we had like a mental health group and what have you. And it was in the time of Zoom. Remember the time of Zoom when we couldn't go anywhere, and we had mental health check-ins each week and what have you. And when I became it, well, I'd watched a documentary called Skid Row Marathon. And it's about a judge in Los Angeles who sees the same people going in and out of court all the time. It's all drug related, alcohol related, mental health related. And most of these people were on Skid Row in Los Angeles. And so they're all homeless, all dropped through society, all dropped through, just do nobodies. And there's a thing there called Midnight Mission. Now, when I'd heard of this through this 12-step program, it was called Midnight Mission. And that's like a bit like a St. George's Crypt type thing, but massive. And this guy worked there and he started a running club. Now he helped these people by doing like a couch 5K, building them up, and then got money in from like all these people that he knew to send some of them to Africa to run a marathon and stuff like that. And I was like, that's really cool. And then it shows you one of the successes, the people that leave this, and it's well worth a watch, man. If you get a chance to watch it, even if you're not a runner, it's fantastic. Skid Row Marathon is called. So I took my thing from that and I said, right, I want to work with a rehab or homeless type thing and start a Couch 5K. Could you imagine walking down Leeds talking to some of these people going, did you fancy doing a Couch 5K, bud? They'll be like, no. So I went to St. George's Crypt and they put me on to Growing Rooms, which is a residential rehab. And that's not far from me. That's in Wortley. So I got in touch with them and I started a Couch 5K. Now, little did I know, Jamie at the same time has started a Couch 5K with Spacious Places in Leeds, which is like a daycare rehab rather than residential. It's sort of like folded in Forward Leeds and 5 Ways in Leeds now as that.
Okay.
So I didn't realise we were doing that. So I started this Couch 5K. And we'd already in my head, recovery runners were there. And we got a few regulars. And I mean, I had to get other run leaders from South Leeds Lakers to come and help me, because when you try to get a load of addicts and alcoholics together, it's like trying to herd cats. It's like trying to sweep water uphill. I mean, you say to them, right, this is what we're going to do. We all stay together. They go, yeah. I said, do you understand? Yeah. And as soon as you say, right, go, everybody goes like that, boom, opposite directions, and you're like, my God. But then COVID hit, and we weren't allowed to meet. And I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do here? So that was about the November time before it kicked off. And in the January was my 50th. And we'd still meet up with a couple of people. It'd be like, yeah, you were allowed to meet up in 2s and you were allowed to meet up in 3s. But, by that point, we'd dribbled down to that anyway, because people were like, this isn't for me. And of course, with rehabs and stuff like that, people relapse, people disappear, people die. And that's the truth of it, So on my 50th birthday, I'd met up with Jamie and we'd gone for a walk. We had some stuff to start, some personal stuff to start between ourselves. And we spoke about it and we says, well, why don't we join forces? And he says, all right then. So what we're going to call it, I says, Recovery Runners. Great idea. So we started off with people in recovery from drugs and alcohol, which is what we knew, which is who we were. So I set up a Facebook page and invited friends who I knew ran all over the country, because we used to go to lots of conventions and weekends away with sober people and what have you, and meet up with people. So I knew people that ran, and then they invited friends, and they invited friends. Then all of a sudden it turned into a monster. Honest to God, it was like, what have I done here? And then it was like everybody was jumping on. It's like, oh no, what's going on here? Right, let's keep going. And then all of a sudden somebody said, well, I've seen this. I've got an eating disorder. Can I join? And we're like, well, yeah. And somebody said, well, I've got a gambling issue. Can I join? Yeah. And so you can see where this is going, you know what I mean? So before we knew it, it would open to everybody. Because, everybody's recovering from something. Everybody's recovering from something, be it, relationship breakup, grief,
childhood, religion.
Childhood trauma. Let's not get into that. And that's it, and that's where it can. And that's what it is. And I always say now, whenever I say, if you're recovering from an ingrowing toenail, you're more than welcome to come. And that's where it started. And then before long, it was just that's when we could start to meet up in like 3s and 4s. But during that time, that gave us the opportunity to like email Leeds City Council, email Run Leeds and whatever. But I already had a relationship with Run Leeds because I set up a running club with John Lewis at the time, which is where I was working where I was working before that. And so I knew Neil Jones from Active Leeds and whatever. So I got back in touch with him, and they supported us to help because they were used to like going to people with ideas and hoping that somebody would do something about it, and we were going to them with an idea, chomping at a bit, basically. I mean, Christ, we're recovering alcoholics. If we say we want to do something, we want to do it yesterday, and we want results last week. And so that's how it started. And we'd meet up and we'd go out in 3s and 4s and we'd meet down by Canal, and run. And then we thought, well, we need an hub. We need somewhere to be. Because this isn't just about running. This is about maybe walking, maybe meeting and just coming for the brew. And that's what it was. So you can come, sit, be safe and have a chat. Non-judgmental, open to all comers. So we ended up
sober space as well.
That's it, man. And so that's where it was. And of course, then we had like delusions of grandeur. We wanted recovery runners in every major city, all over the country, and we want to set up a Facebook page, and we're going to have an app, and chaos. And they didn't have like that, obviously. And it started off really small. It started off to the point where we thought this is going to take off. This. And we ended up down at Leeds Dock, down at Glass Box, right where they do open swimming. So we started there, we ended up there. And so we went out onto the river, or one way, or run through town and canal the other way. And there was, some weeks you'd have like 4 people, and it was like, oh my God. And then it started to slowly build. So we launched properly on Yorkshire Day in 2021. We were 4 years this year. And through that time during COVID, Jamie knows quite a few people, and quite a few people know him. So we ended up with a couple of celebrity ambassadors. We ended up with Don Matteo, who used to play for Leeds, and we ended up with Jack Bateson, who was a boxer. And so they were ambassadors, so we got them a shirt and photographs with them and what have you, and endorsements from them, and tagged them in Twitter at the time and everything else. So, and from that it grew, because I became like this cyber stalker, I suppose, looking who's in recovery, who's got mental health issues, which celebrity is mental. And I got in touch with a few people. I got in touch with Ebony Bridges, who's a boxer, and we went and met her at a book signing, and she fell in love with us straight away, and she's been an ambassador since. And we've got Paul Tonkinson, who's a comedian, writer, podcast. Again, it was just like, oh yeah, met you at a marathon. Fancy being an ambassador? I'd love to be. What do I need to do? And it's like, yes. And that's what a lot of it was. And Alison Lowe, OBE, and she's the deputy mayor for Yorkshire Combined Authority. Same again. She was liking her stuff, so we're like, I see you liking her stuff. And so it kind of like went mad from there. And we've got a girl who did TikTok who's got loads of followers, and we've got a guy who's a para triathlete as well. He's a motorcycle accident, snapped his spine, but he's in a wheelchair, but he does all that, beginning of marathons and what have you, fighting off on them chairs. Brett Crossley, so we've got him as well. And we don't ask for it. We don't want like give us your money and we'll mention your name. It's just about having their backing, and believing in what we do. And and it's at Christmas time we ask them to do a little video. Merry Christmas recovery runners, and same on his birthday, and they all do that little snippets. And when we have his birthday and we have his birthday barbecue, we supply food and everything for everybody for free. And we have a run at Christmas and a run at Easter. But what had happened was the first one we did was like a run. Then after that, we decided that we wanted to work with local communities. So wherever we were down at Little Glass Box, and we had to move from there because we're an estate agent moving in. We moved to Canal Connections, which was down at the dock as well, and I'm not going to go into it. We're not there anymore, and we're at Alton Moor Boxing Club. So when we were down there, we worked with Salvation Army, and what we did was at Christmas and at Christmas we asked people. We charged them a fiver. They all got mince pies. They got a medal and they get refreshments. But we asked them to bring food bank donations and a Christmas present, a child's Christmas present up to the value of £3, which generally people spend more than £3 anyway. And we gave all initially in the first charity we were Lynham Farm Children's Charity, but they get backing from loads and loads. So we're like, we want to find somewhere else. We didn't know where to go to. At Salvation Army down Hunslet, we went down to them.
Yeah.
And we give them all stuff one Christmas and one Easter. We did exactly the same, but we asked for Easter eggs as well. Easter eggs and food bank donations. And we've been doing that every year since. And now we're down Alton Moor. We're working with local community down there as well. And we're giving food banks and all toys we give to St George's Crypt for their toy appeal. So we want to work in local communities as well as helping people in recovery from whatever they're recovering from. So that's where we are.
So
you're Leeds wide, and then maybe wider.
We started Leeds, and then obviously we went on to social media, and then it were like there's somebody from South Africa there wanting to join. You know, if somebody's in, like there's so many different groups on Facebook and Instagram. If somebody's in that and it says that they're in another group, then they go, oh, what's this? And they join. And we've got on Facebook now, we've got 1,200 followers, 1,200 members. That's worldwide. Australia, Germany, Denmark, South Africa, all over the world. And there's one for world domination is we tried recovery runners with a friend in Bristol who run with us, and it didn't work out for him. And then a friend in Newcastle tried it didn't work out for him because what they didn't have were a number two. Like I've got James got me, and we have quite. Through us both, we have quite a few connections, and you got to have passion for this. You can't just fart about with it. Go, see if people turn up. You've got to push it, and you've got to try and get people involved. But now we've actually got recovery runners Aylesbury, believe it or not. So and they've turned off leaps and bounds. They're doing really well. A guy called Wayne and his partner Hannah. They started down there, and I had a meeting with him on WhatsApp and what have you. And they're doing brilliant. But they're doing what we did, starting a Couch to 5K as well, to get people who've never run or not run for a while back into running, back into that community. And he does it exactly the same as us, man. That community thing, rather than it's all a run at a pace where you can have a conversation, that sort of stuff, putting people together. And one of the things that I love about it, especially when you were doing it on Canal, because you come on a big loop on Canal, you see people come down that first day and they're all nervous and like don't want to talk to anybody. And by the time they've run the 2.5K out and they're running the 2.5K back, you can see that they're partnered up with somebody and they're chatting away out way back, and you're like, job's done today, man. You know what I mean? And that's what it's about for runnings. Even though it's a running community and we're based on running becomes secondary, really. Next to the community side of it.
It's always about people, man.
That's it. Connection. It's about connection.
We do all this stuff and we say, oh, life's this and that and the other. It's just people. It's just about people.
Yeah.
Well, we're on the recovery runners. So you said something interesting there about not being a club and clubs having rules. And the other thing that comes with rules is that you need officials, and therefore you need money, and you need someone to keep the rules and enforce the rules. And so, yeah, that's probably key to your success. But then that's, like you said, the difficult thing in starting other ones until you've got that structure of people who want to just do it and the people who want to lead it. And it can't be one person.
That's it, and that's it. It's been Jamie and myself, and I can't tell you the amount of committees we've had and the amount of committee members we've had in the last coming up to 4 years. and it changes. It got to a point where it's me and Jamie now. You know, me and Jamie and myself, we generally make the decisions. We try to, you know, we try to we run it safely, and we're both qualified run leaders. We're both qualified run coaches with England Athletics. I'm a visually impaired run leader as well, so people that are visually impaired or blind, I can lead running as well. You know, and Jamie's also a boxing coach, so if people come that are under 16 with parents, you know, either parents are there or parents are happy, we can take them out as well. So, you know, in a way we are official to the point where as we're being qualified run leaders and coaches, their public liability insurance covers any problems, you know, and same as I suppose with like a 12-step meeting. So we try to be as self-supportive as possible. Look at me, home. Jamie and myself put quite a bit of his own money into it. I don't have a right lot of money, but you know, we have put his own money into it when it's come to rent and stuff like that. But we have been lucky enough to get funding from Leeds City Council, from here and there, you know. But we don't need thousands and thousands of pounds. You know, we just need enough in there to make sure we pay rent, to make sure we've got enough to buy medals for next round of stuff. We'd make sure, excuse me, we've got money so we can put other people in to be run leaders as well, which we have done in the past. You know, and that's all about A, taking some weight off us, but B, also giving somebody that building people's self esteem up to see that they're worthy to do that. You know, that we think that you can do that job, because most people, I don't know, just in recovery, but in life, think the shit, think they're not worthy of a bit of a pat on the back and stuff like that. And when you run a race and somebody goes, well done, gives you a t-shirt and a medal, you go, get in. When can I do that again? I've achieved something. And that was a big thing for me, definitely, because I suffer from self-esteem and low self-worth and self-hatred on a weekly basis. You know what I mean? And that's so I know how that feels. I know how that feels with other people. You can tell, boom.
It's trained into you.
Yeah, man.
Especially in the north.
Yes.
And especially in the poor areas and stuff, mate.
And this is
You're stupid. Don't be stupid.
I'll give you something to cry for. That sort of stuff. Yeah, and that's what I'm a child of the 70s, so that's what they were brought up as. But I've come to learn that, you know, totally detracting from what we're talking about there. But I've come to learn that the sins of the fathers is the indoctrination of them. And like I had to. It wasn't until I got sober that I was clear enough to understand this. That mental health issues run through my family like a vein of gold. Everybody's different. I'm alcoholic, you know what I mean? But everybody's different. But I had to think that my dad, his dad fought in World War II, and they didn't talk about it. So when I was born and I was feeling sad and bullied and disjointed and not feeling part of stuff, I couldn't go to my dad and talk to him about stuff like that, because he didn't know how to deal with that. His dad hadn't dealt with him like that. His mum and dad hadn't dealt with him like that. So when it came to big boy problems like relationship breakdowns at 19-year-old, having a daughter at 19-year-old, not knowing what to do at 19-year-old, how do I cope with these feelings and emotions? Give me drugs and alcohol. That'll stop that right away. Oh, that works. And then after 15 years, it stops working. You know, because you can't ignore that stuff anymore.
But it's the push it down, get rid of it. Don't deal with it. But that doesn't work because it comes back.
This is it. And I've just been through a big bout of anxiety. I never had anxiety before. And I had it last year. It was crippling. It scared me to death. I had hand tremors. I had palpitations. It was horrific. I felt, you know, and I was talking to a friend of mine who's in this 12-step program as well. Has been in it for like 40 odd years, and he's like, the way he puts it, and I was like, I get that now. And it's not about what's happening now that's causing this. It's childhood trauma that's in there, right down there somewhere. And as soon as this happens today, all that comes up, and you're dealing with today's stuff, but it's all yesterday's stuff that you're dealing with. And I didn't get that at the time. So I need therapy for that. That's separate. That's separate from what I need from my alcoholism and everything else. I understand that. And when my head's in a better place, I'm going to go down that road, the inner child stuff and what have you. But it's deep-rooted trauma. And it's not necessarily family based. Like, I was bullied to death at school. Absolutely, from as far back as I can remember from primary school, which is a long time ago, by the way. To leaving school, I was bullied to death. I was short. I've got this big box head. I had big goofy teeth. I was skinny. I just had a target on me, and and I was a bit of a swart. I was soft. I was more of a computer nerd back then as a kid. You know what I mean? And I hated my life. I hated how I felt. And at 15, I had a drink. First, I'd had a drink that changed how I felt. I'd had a sherry at my hands, or a can of Skull. Remember Skull, the original Skull, and my granddad's. You know, but the first time I had a drink at 15, and I felt different. I felt safe. I felt comfortable. It changed the way I felt. That was a spiritual experience. That was my first spiritual experience.
It's a doorway to fun as well, originally, isn't it? It's like people talking and
Chatting.
Social
You're
lubricant.
part of the conversation. Yeah.
And that's it.
And it's so culturally acceptable, and not just acceptable, enforced, inspected. Like, you have to. That's changed a lot now. But I mean, even, I don't know, 2012 or something, it was still like, that's the main thing to do, is you go out, you go to a pub, you go drinking.
You know, it says it all when there's nobody when they're not sponsoring anybody anymore. When it's not in a football shirt or a rugby shirt, and there's no booze advert really on telly other than what they're selling at the supermarket. You know, and you walk into any off license these days, any off license or any corner shop anywhere, the first thing you're hit with is super strength, knock your boots off, cider or some horrible stuff that looks like tar. You know, and it's there to get people drunk. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, a lot of people can drink normally. A lot of people can drink safely. A lot of people can pick up a drink and put it down, and that's it. I can't. A lot of my friends can't. That's why we're all in the same boat. You know what I mean? But it's the fact, in my, this is, you know, it's a personal opinion, the fact that it's socially acceptable and it's not frowned upon. But if you're a drug addict, it's completely different. But it's exactly the same thing.
Also, alcohol, number of deaths, assaults, violence, job losses, homelessness, like everything is off the scale with alcohol. But then that's because it's so widely available as well. But then it is a drug that inherently has a lot of the particular problems with it.
Yeah, and that's it. And but it's not heroin or crack or cocaine. You know what I mean? But we won't get into government making money out of it. Let's carry on.
Let's go back to some of the questions, and I think we'll come back into this as we go through. You started recovery runners before lockdown.
Yeah, the tiny seed of recovery runners was sown then, and during lockdown, that's when we started to make contacts and started to do social media side of it, and started to get a little bit of funding to help us buy kit, etc.
So, in terms of the day job, obviously you said you started there.
Yes, I was in a different job at the time. Yeah.
So, what happened with that initial job as we went into lockdown,
Right.
and then coming out the other side?
Yep.
Obviously, you've changed role.
Yeah.
But has anything about that sort of work changed permanently after lockdown?
The thing there, see, lockdown were really good for alcoholics and drug addicts. Because in terms of all the me, yeah, everything being shown you can buy now. No, I'm joking. The fact that if a nuclear bomb dropped on us all now, and they all say that cockroaches would be the only thing surviving, no, they won't. There'll be cockroaches, alcoholics, and addicts, because they bend round their environment to however it suits. Because within a week of lockdown, just about every 12-step program, I'm really careful what I'm saying here, went on Zoom. So everybody could still stay in touch through Zoom. And not only the local meetings, but you could go anywhere you wanted. I went all over the world, mate. I went to Australia, Japan. It was ace. Hawaii, I heard people that I would never hear. I saw people, I spoke to people, got texting people from that, meeting built with people afterwards that I never thought I'd meet, and I'd probably never see again in my life. Galveston, Texas, all these places. It was fantastic. And so in a way, for that side of it, we adapted really well on that side of it. But the job I was in at the time, I was working for, sadly, a friend of mine who sadly passed away since through addiction. And I was doing garden maintenance and property maintenance. So we had one day off during COVID, the day that Boris went, I'm not right sure what we're doing, call us back tomorrow. And then you went, right, you can't do no unless you're doing this, this, and this. Unless you work for NHS, or you got, but with us not speaking to anybody else or seeing anybody else, we were just going in and cutting people's grass and cutting their edges. And so it didn't, in reality, it was boosted a bit with the job that I was in at the time because people didn't want to leave their house. So
yeah, and they were at home looking at the garden if they had one and going, oh, that needs sorting out.
Let's call these boys round to cut us grass so we can sit outside and let people grass us up for more than 3 people in the garden. But that's what I was doing at the time. Then it was a very shady, very dark 4 to 5 years for me round there. My leading up to COVID, etc., was my mental health took a real dive before COVID, and I lost my job. I worked for John Lewis, and I lost my job there, and I didn't know where I fit in. I bibbed and bobbed about, doing bits and bats of different jobs here and everywhere. Christ, I was coming up to 50-year-old, and I didn't know where I belonged in life anymore, And so I tried. I worked in a warehouse, and I worked as a carpet fitter's mate, and I did everything, man. It was unreal, and that gardening when I did for 2 years, I think. And it's summer, it's great. In winter, it's terrible. Wet through, cutting bushes down with chainsaws and stuff, and it was like I've had enough of this, and that's when I applied for this job where I am now. So, but. In the role I was in at the time, COVID kind of stopped you doing certain things for us work-wise, but it upped it on another side. Well, I was never out of work for during that time,
Kept you from being locked in the house as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm quite good by myself, me. I'm quite a social dinosaur. I like my timing. Me and my wife both had COVID at the same time when it first started. When there were no vaccinations and we were ruined. We were absolutely ruined for a fortnight. And I introduced her to Game of Thrones and we watched the entire Game of Thrones while trying not to die. And then getting on meetings at night on Zoom. And but it was stuff like that. I think this is just from what I saw where COVID, 2 different people came out of COVID. Either complete and total narcissists or complete and total empaths came out of the other side of it. People went in and transformed in that time. And I still know people now that won't go to live meetings, they'll stay on Zoom because they've got that fear factor going in, and people still walking out with a mask on just in case. It got to a point now we've got to live with it like flu, haven't we? You know what I mean? And that scares people. I've had it 4 times. That's how lucky I am.
No.
And that would have to jabs as well.
Yeah.
But in one sense, COVID for me and the lockdown were great in a selfish way because I got to meet all these beautiful people all over the world, and I still got to work as well. But on the other side as well, active alcoholism, and if they weren't alcoholic, were drinking more and more at home. Went through the roof. You know what I mean? So it had its positives and its negatives, really, for everybody. I think there's more negatives where COVID were concerned for the most of the populace, but for some people it were a good time to change. It was a good time for reflection. Without a doubt, be happy with what you've got, kind of thing.
Well, and it was the space and time as well, because we've got so many distractions, which feel like more when you fill the day with 8 hours of going to a building and
being somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
yeah, people had more time to think, and not everybody's used to thinking about themselves and what they're doing.
You
And
get scared.
this is why we do things like drink.
Yeah,
I don't want to deal with that.
being at home in your own mind palace is no fun, man. Even now, they bring a committee in with them as well. There's like a committee and a subcommittee in there arguing, and you go, what am I doing? And before long, you're like going, well, I'm either going to stay in bed all day and close curtains, I'm going to drink, or I'm going to take up running. And the running epidemic took off then as well, really. A lot of people got into it then because it were, as they saw a cheap sport until they had to go buy decent trainers. But that's another thing that I want to get into as well, if it's all right, where recovery runners is, because during COVID and recovery runs when it started, we knew that people didn't have kit. People didn't have running trainers. So I reached out to my old running club and old running mates and all other running clubs that I know. 'Cause when you get on circuit round Leeds, you generally get to know a lot of people from other running clubs. And I asked for like old trainers because runners have way too many trainers than they've got feet. And I asked for old running trainers and old running kit and like old running shirts from events and stuff. And I think at one point my shed's massive. It's like 10 meters by 4 meters with these big metal sheds in the back garden. And I think I had 1,000 pair of trainers in there at one point. And all washed, all through washing machine, all hung out on my line. And so basically if somebody wanted to start running and I didn't have any kit, we'd give them kit, head to toe. And that was another thing we aimed at as well, where if they did that, I know they're using second-hand recycled stuff, if they got into it and really got into it and couldn't afford it, we'd buy them some trainers. And or if they couldn't afford it, we'd pay for them an entry into a race. That and we still do that today. We're still doing that. And not only for us, we've actually kitted out Leeds Valkyries women's basketball. We kitted out a lot of guys at Get Set Leeds local with schools and stuff like that. With the Asylum Seekers running club in Middleton. Their place for like naughty schoolboys over in Wetherby. We sent them like 60 pairs of trainers and whatever so they could get out and run or play football and stuff like that. So that's all part of recovery runs as well, and community based and sustainability and what have you. But not everybody. We didn't want the fact that you didn't have to stop you doing what you want to do, because I've been there myself. It passes.
It's a huge barrier.
Yeah, man, massive.
Yeah.
And kids are getting it.
And how many times do you do that thing as well of like, you're going to do something? Oh, but I need the thing first. Or I haven't got the right whatever.
I need the £1,000.
Here you go. Have this. Get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's it. And we still do that today. I mean, down at Recovery Runs where we are now, we've got like a unit and we've got all these boxes in. They've all got trainers in. If people come and say, oh, but trainers are a bit, have you got what you got? And I go, there you go, try them on. What do you want for them? No, we don't want no for them. And my shed's still full. I mean, and people still bring stuff down. And still being there. If there's been an event on and they've got loads of shirts left, we end up with boxes of shirts to give to people. And a lot of that we give to food. If the brand new clean shirts, we give to the food bank, because a lot of them they use them as base layers, winter and what have you. So we do that, and we end up with a good relationship with Simeta Sports, again by being cheeky, and we buy our kit through them. But what they did as well, where they give us all this stuff with COVID, all these events that are being cancelled, they'd already made kit for it. Great North and all this. So we ended up with loads of Great North run hoodies and t-shirts and what have you. So what we do, we give a load of that away, but then we had like tabletop sales, pay what you want, pay what you feel, and that money went back into the club for teas and coffees and rent and stuff like that. So when I say self-supporting, that's what I mean. It's like generating his own income by doing that. And Get Set Leeds local, we're part of this. Can't remember the name of it but it's basically like trying to do the big bins at sports clubs, and they bring a winter coat and then they give winter coats out to all kids, and they did the same with kit, and we did that with filled that up. We became part of this community, which is all part of these little bits in Leeds, and they were having trouble with getting kids stuff. Kids were getting excluded from school because they didn't have kit, and you're like, they haven't got kit because of skin. How can you exclude a kid who hasn't got a pair of shorts because they can't afford a pair of shorts? So, back in my day, we're like, get in that boxing corner and get a pair of Charlie shorts. Remember big blue denim things with big yellow bootlace thing right corner? And you didn't forget your kit after that, I'll tell you. But what I did was I rang my mate, we're doers. I can sit on a committee, but if I feel that people aren't doing, I do it. And what they were saying, we need this. And I went, what do you need? And they said, we need loads of kids kit there. So I got on, I texted this guy who owns him at the sports. I went, have you got any free stuff? He went, what do you need? I said, I need loads of kids stuff. He says, yeah, I can send it up. He sent him a pallet of gear up week after.
Yeah.
And that's all. And that's all it is. It's knowing the right people at the right time to help whoever needs helping. And and I'm not one. Jamie's saying when you speak to him, we don't sit on his laurels. If we say we're going to do something, we do it. If we say we're going to help somebody, we help them. We don't leave anybody hanging. You know what I mean? We don't leave anybody with false hope. If we can help you, we will. If we can't, we'll point you in the direction of those that can. But whereas it comes to running and running kit, we can sort that out. If it's coming to sitting down and having a brew and having a cry and spilling your guts, we're there as well. But we'll have a run and we'll have a laugh. I mean, I'm not being funny, but if you ever get a chance to come down and see us one Sunday morning, man, come down. I mean, because it's you won't hear out but laughter. There's people there. There's recovering alcoholics, addicts. There's people there with anxiety, people there with depression, mental health, grief, long-term COVID, getting over cancer. There's a mixture of everybody in there, and all you hear out of that room is laughter. You know what I mean? And that's why the community thing comes in, because it's family, it's community, it's being as one, and it's helping out your fellow man. And you said it earlier, it's all about people. That's what it's all about. People get lost in, I know it's for then. People get lost in Ferraris and millions of pounds and big houses and da-da-da-da-da and chasing that all the time. When you've been to hell, you reach for what's achievable. And what's achievable is, I know from my experience how that can benefit somebody else. Even the worst stuff that has happened to me can benefit somebody else. And that's what we do. And that's why I'm open and honest about my recovery, my alcoholism, my mental health, all these other things. I'm vocal about it. I might be anonymous, but I'm not invisible.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm going to do now is ask about social media.
Right.
So generally on the show, when I look at this, I'm asking people in terms of their work, how much time do they have to spend on social media?
Yep.
And do you feel that that's a good use of your time? Do you get the things that you want out of it? Now, I'd imagine with recovery runners, the answer is absolutely yes, because you've gone all over the world.
Yeah.
You probably didn't have to spend loads and loads of time on it. I would imagine it's gone fairly viral itself.
Yeah. It did. Our recovery runners wise, it did. And, whereas the thing is, social media can be either used for absolute positive stuff or really, really negative stuff. And, I've been very, very lucky that where recovery runners is, we haven't messed about with it. I mean, if you want to join recovery runners, there's certain questions, there's certain, do you agree to the rules and what have you? And if they don't, you're not in. Unless I look at it and he goes, if they've got like multiple mutual friends and this, that, and other, or they're being invited by somebody, then that's different. But it's, I know from going back to it, back to the Zoom, when the 12-step meetings were put on, people started putting them on Facebook and what have you. And of course, you got these, what we started to call Zoom bombers. These vile individuals that will come on and start being racist and sexist, and obviously you got camera on and they'll be doing things to themselves that they shouldn't do in public. And so it were pretty much that will lock down pretty quick. But that kind of gave me the impetus of like, who you let in and who you don't let in, and where you put it out and where you don't put it out. You know, Recovery Runners is a private group. You know, you have to be invited to it or you have to be accepted into it. Instagram's a different thing, innit? You know what I mean? And Twitter, anybody can get you, which they generally do. You always get, you know, this very young, attractive young lady who wants to be your friend, and you're like, no, you don't. No, you don't at all. But goodbye.
Yeah, that's never posted anything, or they've posted 5 photos of different people.
That's it, yeah. And,
All in the same non-outfit.
Yeah, and they've got like 3 friends, and you're like, okay, you can come and join us and hack us to death, and then, you know. So I think being savvy on it's helped. But, you know, but on a personal side, except for Recovery Runners, I spend way too much time on it.
Yeah.
Not as much as a lot of people. My wife's a nightmare for it. Honest to God. TikTok and stuff like that, she'll be on
It's
it.
designed to be addictive, though.
But it works. It works.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
But they spent a lot of money on that.
See, I tell you what, she spends a lot of money on TikTok shop and all. I'm not kidding. You know, but that's it. It's made to draw people, and I think the more, you know, I keep my circle pretty tight on a personal level, friends wise and stuff like that. You know, I keep my circle pretty tight. The people that are in there, I entrust with my life. You know, and you start feeding that out to too many people, you're leaving yourself wide open for attack, no matter what that is, either spiritual, physical, mental, whatever, you know. And I feel pretty much the same with social media, on a personal side, but I don't go on it to like, look at what you're doing, what are you doing, what are you doing, what are you doing. I just use it to see what's going on a lot of the time. And most of the time it's about running. I'm that anal with it. It's like, who's doing running or metal? Which metal bands play? 'Cause I'm an old metalhead, so it's like da da da. Like I was supposed to go see Anthrax and somebody else earlier, but my anxiety kicked in. But 2 years ago after London Marathon, I went to see him 35 years after I'd seen him first time. You know,
Nice.
and I went ace. And we look, me and mine, I still look around with a few lads that were still old metalheads, so we rock up and stand at back and watch everybody else make assholes of themselves and get knocked about and mosh pits. Well, I'm too old for mosh pits these days. But anyway, but it's, but I think that the more I got using Twitter at the time and now X, the more I see going on that, the less inclined I am to spend time on that.
Yeah.
Because of certain individuals that own it, a certain individuals who they're partnered with, and other people that, in reality, now that with that X, there's some people on there that you don't have a choice of if they put a feed or not, and that's not how it was initially. I don't want to see Alex Jones. I don't want to see Elon Musk. I want to see who's running. I want to watch. I want to see Leeds United.
I want to see people I follow and people that I search for and things that I search for. I don't want to see this crap
That you're showing me. Whatever platform.
Exactly.
Or
It don't matter what that's on. The thing is, though, you can't say no in passing to your pal without it popping up on your news feed at some point. You know what I mean? So, God forbid you start talking about sex aids and all like that, because it pops up on your feed and you get in trouble with wife. You know what I mean? But if you're talking about a band or you're talking about some maker, it pops up and it's like, he's gone, mate. He's going to be Terminator soon, isn't it, man? You know what I mean? It's going to be, the machines are going to take over and we're all doomed.
This is what the running's really for, isn't it?
That's what it is, mate. To run faster than you. That's what that is. That's all that is. Yeah, we're getting ourselves ready for when we have to chase us food. But yeah, I think you know, I'm glad that social media wasn't around when I was younger.
Oh God, yeah.
Because I was physically bullied and mentally bullied there and then. Whereas to think that you get it on a completely different level, a completely different platform, and it can be 24/7. That scares me to death for some of these kids that are out there now, and some of the people that are out there doing it. You know what I mean? It's just opened up this thing to.
It's so easy to follow people and stalk them after. It's, you know, like when you left school.
Yeah.
You'd left school.
Yeah.
You were kind of
free.
Yeah, that's it. Why would I want to follow these people again? You know what I mean? But yeah, it's and to be honest with you, I'm glad it wasn't about when I went in madness, because I'd have been in jail. There's no two ways about it. You know what I mean? I'm so pleased it wasn't about them. But I think that if it's used for good, great, but it can be manipulated and abused. I mean, like anything, be it, but if somebody can find a back door where they can abuse it, they will.
It's the speed and power of it, though, and it's the trust that we give it.
Instant, boom, and it's all massive, and it's all, all these people on TikTok that are like, buy this, and people go, okay, rather than before they were like, I want to go to Lewis's and have a look at it first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were skeptical about Argos when it first opened because you couldn't see it. You know what I mean? I used to go to Woolworths and touching it and feeling it and looking at it and trying it on. You go to Argos to pull it out of a magic hat in back, don't you? You know what I mean? So now it's social media. But that's the generation. That's a generational thing. I sound like a right old fart. But that's the thing, and it's completely changed now. The kids have changed today to what they were at my age. You would never, some youngins these days, you see them doing stuff I would never have dreamt of doing when I was a kid. I'd have got clattered. I'd have got bashed. And to be honest with you, a bit local copper there had smacked us about a bit as well. Cause your teachers could belt you back then. You know what I mean? You can't do any of that now. And these kids, he's turned into Wild West sometimes. You know what I mean?
Well, remember when if someone kicked off on a bus, someone would say, "Oh, you shut up or get off."
Yeah.
Like whether it was the bus driver or someone on the bus, and everyone on the bus would back them up.
Yeah.
If anyone said anything, back it was like, "Oh no, you get lost here." Everyone would be like, "No, you get lost."
Yeah. And now it's like head down.
Yeah. Nobody sees it.
Nobody says.
Or they'll film it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's even worse, isn't it? I'll film you getting battered. Great idea, that, isn't it? Yeah. But that's it. That's it. That's another thing, isn't it? It's like, when them Leeds riots and that were on, people were filming that, and you're like, why have you gone out of your way to film people doing that? You know what I mean? Why? That scares me to death. I can't lie, it scares me to death. You just try to get through the day. So it feels like survival sometimes, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm going to use that as a segue onto climate change.
Excellent.
Again, this is related to your work. Again, if you want to focus on recovery runners here, obviously wetter and warmer. So in terms of the runs, there's a lot more rain and occasionally a lot hotter days. How's it affecting things?
I think, but going back to when it's, going back to when I really don't, it's when it's like the really hot summers when it's like unbearable. Like summer of COVID were relentless. You know what I mean? But luckily we were outside cutting grass out. You know what I mean? We had a right suntan, also a little bit of sunstroke, but a right suntan on us. And when it was like that, it was great. But when you try, when you try to sleep at night, it's not fun, is it? You know what I mean? It's a different kind of heat over here than it is in Spain or anywhere else abroad that's nice and not here. And it's.
Well, and the buildings are designed for it there. We're not.
Well, that's it. We've got like these red brick houses, not somewhat painted white. That's going to reflect the heat and hold the heat in, kind of thing. Because we're behind. We're not used to that. So I think the thing is we're not used to it. When it hits us, we're not used to it. We're not used to it when it's red hot. We're not used to it when it chucks it down. We're not used to it when it snows. As soon as it snows, everybody turns into an absolute divvy. I can't drive, and then it sounds like COVID. Let's just go buy all the bog roll. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And everything that I can in the supermarket.
Yeah, I remember going, and I'd gone when you could go to the supermarket, and I bought porridge so I could take to work and some muesli for wife. And when I got to the till, I could only have one or other. That's how mental it got, and that's when you think you're saying, "Am I in Russia? Am I somewhere that I've got to get my ration book out here?" You know what I mean? And we're like, well, I think that's when reality kicked in with that. But I think climate change is, again, I suppose it's one of them. I'd bury my head in sand with it. It's like, what can I do now? It was ozone layer stuff, don't use deodorants when I was a kid. And it went from that to fossil fuels, and then it went from that to fracking, which I still don't really understand what that is. And then it's when you see physical stuff like icebergs melting and bits of Greenland that are more green than the covering ice, and that poor old polar bear on a little bit having to swim for like 20 days to try and find a seal. That sort of stuff when you see it in reality, I think that's That's when it's most catastrophic. But then when it's like, you know, you can tell there's a change in weather, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, that wind that we've been having and stuff, you know, and you can tell it's changing. But, you know, I'm not naive enough to know that at some point this Earth ain't gonna say, "Hang on a minute, you've you've nicked enough off me. You've battered
enough
me.
of you now.
Enough of you now. Let's have another ice age." You know, and I'm not trying to be some sort of conspiracy theorist, but it's happened before, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So why wouldn't it happen again? You know, you watch these things like The Last of Us, and you're like, is it that far from truth that at some point social media is going to crash? We're going to lose our internet. There's going to be Terminators walking everywhere. We're all going to die. You know, and is it that far fetched that these things could happen?
But it's the thing of, it's always over there and always in the future. And even with the sci-fi, they're kind of like, what if this happened? And it's like, it is.
Yeah.
It's happening now. Like, we're doing that.
Yeah, AI.
We're doing all of these things.
Yeah, AI. You like that? It's start of it, man. It's start of it.
You're like,
Yeah. Oh, this could be dangerous. What, this can predate
this thing that
It's incredible
people don't
intelligence.
understand.
It's incredible intelligence that keeps self-learning. What could go wrong?
But it's not, is it? It's just it's a trick. It's like a plagiarism machine that's sort of like, oh, it's all so clever. But then it is if we entrust it and make it our,
God.
You're like,
you are the right one, yeah. You are the word.
Yeah, well, as soon as you make it, as soon as you make stuff like that and higher power, you're in real trouble, aren't you? You know, but I think, going back to that global warming thing, I think, you know, you watch it on film, you see this channel, and you think, yeah, it's not too far fetched. But then you see stuff like that tsunami that time, that was Boxing Day, wasn't it, in town and stuff like that. That's nature saying enough, man. In my opinion, you know, and that was horrific. That was absolutely horrific. You know, but then there's earthquakes, and it's more and more often. They're getting more and more. I mean, look at Mykonos in Greece. That all over. It's like it's getting closer to home, isn't it? There's a shift in somewhere. You know, there's a reason why apparently we're the only intelligent people around, isn't it? The only intelligent race. You know, there's probably other races looking at us going, "Look at these dickheads here."
We're not going to that planet.
No, not going to that planet where they don't talk. They just use ESP. Yeah. Talk to each other through water. I want to be Aquaman.
Well, yeah, that's everyone wants a seastead, but no one's doing the Stromberg undersea cities.
No.
I
Where's
mean-
Atlantis, bro? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what we want. That's what we want. You know.
All
why
these
has
design
Why
companies.
has nobody ever been to the moon again since? Let's get into that. Come on. That's about as much input I've got on global warming. I don't really understand it. I get if it's going to be worse. You know, it's all going to be the burst and whatever from the sun and the ozone layer and what have you. But you know, it's
just on the list of horror stories, isn't it?
yeah, it's like the incoming asteroid, isn't it? You know what I mean? Is it going to miss us, or is it going to fucking land in Indian Ocean and destroy us all? You know, at the end of the day, how much power have I got over that?
Well, what say do I have in it?
None.
Yeah, none.
Nothing.
And even if I had, they wouldn't do now.
Yeah.
So it's plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Exactly.
It's simple as that, isn't it? So that's my global warming. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. There we go. Next question.
So there's a question on Brexit.
Mm-hmm.
So since we've Brexited, have you noticed any change in your work?
Obviously, beforehand, no. But I think now, especially with trying to operate in European Union, yes. That has been the big thing. Especially, I've seen that with friends who are smaller businesses that shipped to European Union, and then, you know, the prices they had to put up their prices to be able to deal with taxes, import charges, and everything else.
Yeah.
I think with smaller businesses, that's why they've all gone belly up. I mean, you look at all, You look at all the you go down White Rose shopping centre. You look at how many shops are now a perfume stall or a cookie stall or a chocolate stall, pretending to be a shop because there's a shop in there anymore. You know, and even then down to like things like Debenhams, House of Fraser, all these things, they've all been impacted by it. In my opinion, they're being impacted by it. And I don't think COVID's helped with that as well, because everybody went, right, I don't have to leave the house to go shopping now, so I'm going to order everything online. Simple as that. But definitely, the thing that I notice more is when you go get your monthly shop. And I know that sounds like a right old farty thing to say, but the price of goods has gone.
It's amazing how empty the shelves are now, isn't it?
Yeah.
All the time in every supermarket, there's always gaps now.
Yeah, I mean, you get, but you never used to get that. Everything, you know, you see stuff that you used to buy for like even ridiculous stuff. 'Cause since I got sober, my sweet tooth is ridiculous. So it's like Cadbury's Buttons are my favourite, right? And you used to be able to get them for 99p, not so long back, and the £1.85 now. If you're getting it with your Morrison's card. If not, they're £8. You know what I mean? Which is a con in itself, isn't it? You know what I mean? They know how to play the market. Tesco started it; they're carrying on with it, aren't they? But I think that with the price of things, you know, you see that's the supermarket side of it, and I know that you know, I'm not one for going on holiday a lot, you know, abroad, and but when I have. Because it's been marathons abroad, to be honest with you. But Jamie and myself have done Paris and we've done Berlin a couple of times, and you know we've made weekends of it. And you notice that when you're coming back in the queue, which was EU passport, non-EU passport, you know, it's that side of it. The price, the currency exchange, all them things. It's yeah, it wasn't a good idea, was it?
No, well, I mean, it was just a label.
Well,
It wasn't
seemed that
really.
the people that were fronting it, as soon as it went through and it started to go wrong, disappeared. You know, our friend who gets milkshakes thrown at him, etc. You know, and I think that, you know, I've got to be really careful what I say here. Really,
We can always cut it out.
No, well, we can do. But basically, I think, in my opinion, it was the older generation that was saying, we're not giving Brussels no more money, and they were going to stop them boats coming in. And none of that happened at all. None of that happened. It got worse because once you'd done that, it opened up other countries that entered the EU that could just come across. You know, and I'm not going to go down the road of stop the boats, but stuff like that has happened, and I think that people who voted for Brexit go down that line of make Britain better, and in reality, it's made it worse because money's gone up. You can't export out. If you want to buy out from abroad, it costs a fortune. You can't go abroad. You've no cheap orders abroad anymore. You've knacked that. You're not going to be going to Benidorm for a tenner anymore because getting your full breakfast for £1 when you get there. You know, because all this stuff has now become too expensive for everybody. You know, and then knock-on effect from that is like rates going up, this is going up, eating's going up, gas is going up, electric's going up, and you've got these old dears. It's like, do I eat tonight or do I put eating on? You know, and at the end of all this, there's somebody counting the money. But I think that's with anything. Wherever there's pain and wherever there's tribulation and wherever there's suffering, there's always somebody making something out of that. In my opinion.
Someone pushing their costs onto somebody else.
Yeah, and it's people that don't, you know, it's people that don't live in the real world and have to live in the real world that are making decisions for the people that do. And that's, well, it's not right, is it? You know what I mean? But that's going to change. I can bitch and moan and carry on as much as I want and go on protests and walk around with a placard and a flag and stamp my feet and throw orange paint on stuff and sit in the middle of the road in front of cars. What is that going to achieve? Nothing, apart from you getting on news. It's not going to stop them doing all. It's like me standing outside Carlsberg and going, I'm an alcoholic. It kills as many people every day. What's that going to achieve? A, it's going to make me look a knobhead. And B, it's not going to change anybody. If everybody, you're not going to change people's minds who think they're in the right.
I don't think they'd let you either. I think you'd be escorted away as soon as you appear.
Is that a challenge? You know what I mean? But that's the thing. It's people. It's weird. I think this sort of stuff never used to bother me. I try not to let it bother me now because if I get involved, if I allow my head to get involved in this sort of stuff, be it Brexit, stuff like that, it's like I can be down a rabbit hole. Boof.
Yeah,
It's not about drinking. It's about mental sobriety and spiritual sobriety. I can go down a rabbit hole then with it all. So I try not to get too caught up in it, but I know it goes on. Whereas when I was drinking, I won't give a monkeys about any of it. I won't care at all. I was a complete narcissist. I was like, I don't care. Whereas now I do, but I care about. I care and do the things
things that you can affect.
Correct.
Real stuff that you can do. Results.
All I try to do on a daily basis is try not to be an arsehole, try not to upset somebody on purpose, and try to help somebody that needs help. But whatever that is, be it an old girl off at a bus, hold it door open for somebody, or picking somebody up off the floor because they're in active alcoholism and they need help, and anything in between. But that's because I have that thing called empathy now, which I never used to have. I used to class empathy as sympathy, which is completely different. Whereas I feel that I'm empathetic now, where I know how you feel. Therefore, I know how to get out of this. Would you like me to show you? No? Okay, but when you do, let me know. And that's whatever. That's whatever, be it mental health, be it drinking, be it drugs, be it whatever. If I know somebody that's going to help somebody, or I know somebody that's going to help somebody else, I will. So that's in my control then. Not that I'm controlling as in like being godlike, but if I can, I will put my time and effort into things that are achievable. Me complaining about Brexit, me complaining about global warming, me complaining about the state of this country, me complaining, it ain't going to do no. All it's going to do is wind me up. And I can't afford to wind me up. And I don't mean that to say I don't care about it and I have no interest in it. It's a case that I will do things that I know that I'm. Whoa, I don't know how to put it. How I'm going to put it then. That I
You
know
want
I
to
can
care
do,
about
I can,
things
I can
that
do
you
something
want you
about.
can
I
affect.
can fix, yeah. If I can have an effect on something, I will. If I can have an effect, if I can't have an effect on it, it's got nothing to do with me.
It's like I can't afford to care about that.
Yeah, and that sounds quite crass, doesn't it, really?
The capacity or the means or... Well, yeah, to a degree.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that sounds quite bad.
No, I mean, it's spot on.
But that's the truth of it, mate. That's the truth of it. It's like, at the end of the day, for me, I lost absolutely everything. Everything. Dignity, control of my bladder and my bowels, the want to. I couldn't stop drinking. I couldn't stay stopped. If I stopped drinking, I needed to drink. And I was 7.5 stone. I was pissing and shitting myself. I was a tramp. So now, when I can get into a clean bed, I can put a meal in my bed, and I've got a roof over my head. I've got a lovely wife downstairs, 2 house rabbits, and a bastard kitten that's doing my nutting. That she came home with just before Christmas and didn't tell me. That I didn't want, but won't leave me alone because it thinks I'm the best thing on planet. And I've got a job, and I've got friends, and I can jump in my car, and I don't piss bed, and I don't want to die on a daily basis. Then I'm thankful for what I've got now. So rather than try to reach for other stuff, I've tried that, especially early sobriety, and it don't work. The only thing that's there is pain. It's like touching a hot oven. Each time, I'm going to be different this time. If I do it, if I do it with my middle finger this time, it'll be different. And and I suppose am I narrow-minded? Am I close-minded?
No, I think it's
that.
realistic.
I think I'm a realist. I think that's it. I'm a realist. Yeah. Some people call that an arsehole, but a realist will do me.
Depends how real they're being, I suppose.
Yeah, depends how real it smells, doesn't it?
So let's do the change question. So think about this for both recovery runners and for your day job. So the question is, if you could change any 3 things about your work, so you can change anything, it can be real or, totally fantastic. You don't have to pick all 3. You can have more if you want. But if you could change any 3 things about your work, what would you change?
I think that we work-wise, would it been going for so long, and it's a niche market, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? It either comes in as a big bale of wool or as a yarn, it goes out. But it'd be other markets really more than anything else. I mean, a lot of pool cloth and a lot of snooker cloth went out to China, but now Chinese have started to copy that as some countries are very good at copying stuff. You know what I mean? And it's sort of undercutting us a bit. And I think and back to Brexit and why I think that has a lot to do with it as well. That it's cheaper to buy stuff from Europe than it is from us anymore. You know, and what else would I change? It's hard, isn't it? Because I get that thing now when I was being sober, I don't want to upset anybody.
But then also, I get the impression you like the job.
I do.
Of you quite enjoy just having somewhere where you know what's going on, you know what to do.
I do
this is
quite like
fine.
the job, and I'm quite good at it as well because it's like I said before, it's that in people in recovery tend to be really good workers because they want to put back what they've taken, and I feel like I do that, but not in the sense of being being like I'm being an apple at teacher every day. You know what I mean? I just want to do a good job, and I want to. If I can give that extra %, I will. But then people know that and kind of take piss and put 2% on instead. You know.
Yeah.
But this because we've just gone through about redundancies as well. They just let 15 people off. You know, and it's been going for a long, long time as this place. Like it's been going 250 years. You know what I mean? And for that to happen, and for especially for the reach that it has around the world, and the people that where this cloth goes to, you know, the film industry and what have you. Thor's cape with our stuff, you know, in Avengers and stuff like that. You know, it's it's like that. I can't see it being there in another 20 years. You know, as awful as it is because of what's going on. And I wish that had changed because stuff like that needs to stay. But people don't want to stay in that sort of role anymore. People don't want to come in there as an apprentice and learn it. They want to be a TikTok star. They want to be easy money. You know, what do you mean you're going to give me £13 an hour? I'm like, I was on £36 a week when I first started working. You know what I mean? So there is that. I do wish that it would continue, but I don't think it will. You know, work-wise for that reason. But I do quite like my job, which I don't think a lot of people can say that. There weren't many a time when I was working before I'd wake up and go, oh God, I'll ring in sick. What excuse should I cope with? But I get there and they appreciate me, and that you don't get that in many other job either. When you appreciate it. I get on really well with managing director, and I get on really well with some family that own it. You know, and that's just by being me. You know, and being me can be quite offensive to some people. You know, when I first started there, I swear a lot, which you wouldn't know because I've kept it down a lot. And the C word, the C word is my favourite word of all words. Right, everybody gets called it, and it's like, when I first started, like, Dean, you need to stop swearing. Dean, stop swearing. Dean, stop swearing. And now it's like, Dean, there's visitors coming in an hour. You know what I mean? But,
make yourself scarce.
Yeah, basically, keep your mouth shut. Either stop swearing or stop making your own lyrics up to songs, which are usually worse, to be honest with you. You know, but people, even on my appraisal, he gave me out of 5, I got 4 out of 5 across the board. And he says, even on my appraisal, where for those that don't know Dean, can take him the wrong way. because but they know who I am. They know what I stand for. That again, I'm open and honest about stuff that's gone on in my life. I'm a big ambassador for mental health and the fitness and well-being and what have you there. So just being me as I'm accepted, which didn't happen in a lot of places, to be honest with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, all these places are like, oh, bring your whole self to work, and like we want you to be comfortable, and it's like, no, you don't.
We want the sweat off.
You want a robot to turn up.
Yeah, that's it. And the last thing you want is me, man, turning up. I'm not a robot. I'm a cross between C3PO and Metal Mickey. You know what I mean? I that sweat with Tourette's. But yeah, that would, and I think and crossing that over maybe then to maybe the recovery runners. Recovery runners in itself is a job. And, it's a second job. With Jamie and myself, both work 9 to 5 jobs, so we can eat and put shoes on our feet. Well, running trainers, and be able to do stuff. But the reality is, we don't get paid for that. It's all it's like we would do it as a volunteer. This side of us, you know what I mean? And I wish that side of it. I wish that what would change would be the stigma of not just alcoholism and addiction, the stigma of mental health, because it's still crap. I mean, the mental health side of stuff only seems to come to the fore and on the news when a celebrity or a member of the royal family or somebody comes out or somebody kills themselves. Then it becomes forefront of it for a while and then disappears again. And then all of a sudden something else will happen. Ukraine! Let's throw that in to take people's minds off it, and something else happens, and then something else will happen again. And I wish that the stigma had dropped down on that. I wish there were more money available for us to help people. I wish there was as much money as the spin out to other countries to help them out into infrastructure. I wish there were places for homeless. I wish all these things. And I wish that we could help with that. And I think by doing, what did it say? It said, how do you save the world? By doing one random act of kindness at a time. Because I think if we work on that, I'll be happy. But like anything else, there's always a wish list. I want £1 million so I can build a rehab. I want a recovery runners rehab. And we can help everybody and through running and... and then remember that not everybody likes running. And I think there's a million things you could change, but there's not really much wrong in either of those things for me. In recovery runners, money would ruin it, without a shadow of a doubt. That just causes internal fighting and everything else.
And branding and
franchising and people
claiming ownership
and all that. We've already copyrighted ourselves, so nobody can nick it. You know what I mean? Because there will be somebody out there that wants what we've got. And there's people, with this, there's people that thought we'd fail, and there's still people that think we'd fail with it. But at the end of the day, all we're doing is keeping it simple, keeping it. Even though Jamie and myself are co-founders, there's no bosses as such, and people that come know that. Everybody has a voice, everybody has their own opinion, nobody gets told what to do, nobody's made to do what they don't want to do, I think in that way we're quite a niche community in reality, because the reality is all we want to do is help other people. There's no agenda. Whereas there's an agenda for everything. Everybody else has an agenda, what they can get out of it. And don't get me wrong, we've won a couple of awards in the time we've been doing what we're doing. We've won Leeds Sports Awards for community champions. That was first year we started, and then we came runner up for Compassionate Leeds Awards at Christmas. And it's just nice. It's nice to be recognised. If they were handing OBEs out, I'm not going to say no. You know what I mean? But that's and I think that people don't understand that. Why do you do it? We do it for other people. We've come across some right obstacles, some right people that have got in us way, because they want to make it bigger than what it is, or they want something that we really don't have, i.e. money. And that's what it is at the end of the day. People want to try and get some off.
Oh, they want clout that they can translate into money. They want, attention being payment.
We're helping.
attention economy.
We're helping these guys. These guys do so much for the community. Aren't they fantastic? What do you mean we can't get funding for them? Oh, well, you're not welcome here anymore. Let's go these guys over here. And you're like, mate, all we're trying to do is help people with his own money. What's wrong with you? But people don't get that because, again, like I said before, after COVID, there's two types of people come out of that. You know what I mean? They're either naughty or nice. They're either assholes or not that have come out of the other side of that. And people want a quick buck. People need money. And I get that. But people try to do that over the bodies of other people, and we don't do that. We pick them bodies up, man. We pick them up, put them in a seat and give them a brew. You know, and I wish we could make it bigger. I wish we could be everywhere. I wish it paid. I wish it was my full-time job. Because that's my passion is that. My passion is that. My passion is that recovery run. My passion is the 12-step program, the people within it, the helping other people. But the reality is, I've got to go pack cloth at work to put food in my belly. And I'm happy with that. I can live with that. So don't get me wrong. Some days it's stressful. Sometimes I sit in a corner and go, that's it. I ain't doing it anymore. And I spit my dummy out and I lay on the supermarket floor and I kick my legs, and then I give myself a talking to and start again, and then put something else in the mix that's going to make me busier, But work wise and recovery run wise, there's little bits I'd tweak, but there's no major I'd change. I don't think it works. It works as it is. So why would I?
If it ain't broke,
boom. That's it.
So. Final question from me. UBI, are you familiar with this? Universal Basic Income?
No.
Okay, so the idea is it's a floor on payments, not pavements.
Not a ceiling.
So you can earn over it, but the idea is everybody gets it. The amount can be varied. You make your own amount up. But yeah, regular payment that everybody gets. And there's no restrictions on it. Everyone gets it.
Right.
You get it regularly. So the idea being that you have a regular payment in which you can, I can plan with that. So you don't have to go through those periods of, I'm not going to get paid for 3 weeks. Like, how am I going to deal with that? So, and you can go into who's going to pay for it? How's it paid for? This, that, and the other, if you want. But that's not what I'm asking here. I'm asking, how do you think it would change things for you if it existed? If we got a universal basic income, do you think that would make a difference to your work?
All depending on how much it was, really, wouldn't it? If it's more than I'm on now, definitely. I think that's the reality of it, isn't it? If it's less than what I'm on now, definitely have an impact.
Yeah.
I
mean,
I don't think it'd necessarily be enough to pay rent, but it might be enough to pay bills. Let's work on that. Like, maybe not all your bills, but some of the bills.
So are we talking a universal payment on top of what I earn already, or instead of?
No, not instead of. So you get that, and then anything that you earn is on top of that.
I think it's a good idea. When do we start? Yeah. Is this
as soon as I take power.
Yeah. Come the revolution. When all politicians have paper rounds. I suppose that's like that payment that we're giving for eating and that, isn't it? Is it going to be something similar to that, but on a regular type basis rather than a one-off payment? Is that what it is?
Yeah. So the point is that it's regular.
Yeah.
And that everybody gets it, and it's unconditional.
Right.
So there's not like, oh, well, you're over there, so you get more, which immediately in this country gives you a sort of, but what about London and London waiting? And then my answer to that is, well, that's their fault for living in London. That's not on us.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you want to live somewhere where it costs a living through roof. It's like going to live in Switzerland. It's a lovely place, but everything's dear. I mean, but I think it'd be a great idea, and I think it would definitely help those, like we've spoken about, the older generation that they have to make a choice: either put food in the belly or put fire on. You know, and families that are living on breadline, and you see it. People that have to use food banks. We supply food banks twice a year, and it shocks me that they get used as much as they did. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, they were food banks for people that were proper on their ass, whereas now food banks seem to be for just basically everybody who can't survive, and that's a lot of people. I know people that work, like me and my wife, we both work full time, but we can't afford to go on holiday every year because we're paying bills, paying debt, because everybody has debt, paying stuff like that, TikTok shop, but then
and the bills are rising faster than the wages.
I mean, it's not just that. I mean, like your mobile phone bill. All of a sudden,
Well, that's it. And there are more things that like you have to have.
Yeah, and if you don't pay that, you're getting a CCJ through the post. You know what I mean? I can't afford it. Well, we're going to take you to court to make you pay more. That's the idiocracy of that sort of stuff. I don't get. I haven't got the money to pay it yet. We're going to take you to court and make you pay more.
And we're going to put you in more debt, even though you can't pay that.
Yeah, so we're going to send you, make sure you go to a payday loan place and pay through your nose. It just gets people in that cycle. And I've been there myself, you know what I mean? I understand it. For the time being, it's a plaster over a gunshot wound, isn't it? You know what I mean? He sorts it out there and then, but in reality, there's a rot underneath it. And I think that it would help, because what had happened was, as far as I could see, with that last sort of payment that only certain people got, I worked with people who were earning more than me that got that payment, and I didn't get it. We didn't get it, because between us, we earn more, whereas they'd earn a certain amount, but they'd get it. And to be fair, it didn't go on their eating and that anyway. You know what I mean? He went on a Stone Island jumper or something like that. But but I think if you were like...
And why not, though? It's like the rare tweet that you can have.
Well, yeah, but this is me. I buy Stone Island. I buy Stone Island off Vinted. You know what I mean? I'm not just... I'm cheap, man. I'm just cheap. What can I say? But I think that a universal one would it solve problems, or would it make new ones, I suppose, as well?
But this is the other thing that I was going to ask, the flip side of, like, if you think back to when you were an alcoholic, you would have that payment that you're going to get, which is like, that's a bottle that you're going to get.
That's it. And I did, or whatever it's going to be, whatever your vice is. Be it,
I mean, that's like
food.
It's going to make your dealer happy.
Yeah, and your dealer could be Asda. You know what I mean? It could be food, it could be sex, it could be trainers, it could be... That's the thing with anything that makes you feel better. It doesn't necessarily have to be a drink or a drug. It can be so many other things, you know. But yeah, it could cause a whole host of other issues, couldn't it? That I think that on the outside looking in, it could do a lot of good, but like you say, on the flip side, it could also have the negative swing on it as well. You know, I won't say no to a few extra quid a week. You know what I mean? But it's a case of, would I save it? Would I spend it on something? Or would I eat like a king that weekend, like I do on payday? You know what I mean? You don't know, but
I mean, it's up to you. But it's the thing of like, but the key thing that I make this about for the podcast is like, would you still work as much?
Would you reduce your hours?
Well, that's it, innit?
you,
There's all
like-
sorts of things there, isn't there?
I mean, in terms of your workload, if you could ideally design your week, would you say like you do a 4-day week, compress your hours? Would you want to do less hours but for the same money? Or do you think you've got the balance right as it is at the moment?
I think our work, they have that. They have where they work 4 12-hour shifts. Or they work so much, and then someone will come in for like 2 hours on a Friday. But we can't in warehouse because we have carriers that come in every evening.
Yeah, you've got to.
So we have to do it. So that's how. But where work is, especially at the moment, it seems to have slowed down a bit. But 1 minute, it's weird because 1 minute you can have it, so it's hand to mouth, and then day after, you're busting a gut. You know what I mean? So there's no happy medium. So you never know what's going to happen that day.
it's never steady.
They don't know. One day you could have 3 orders come through, and next day you could have a massive MOD order come through. They never know in advance what's coming through the door. So it'd be difficult. But I would prefer to compress my hours. I won't work less hours because I won't want to lose any money. I can't lie, because at the end of the day, everybody loves money. I won't think, I'm gonna take a wage cut because I'm getting this money in. Because even though that's like this payment, who knows what could happen next year? Who knows what could happen?
Yeah.
Am I going to lose my job? Are they going to make more redundancies? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? You know what I mean? But I suppose like it's like all else, and stuff has positives and negatives to it. To everything. If it's going to be, people will find an abuse of it, no matter what happens. Be it whichever way around. But I won't say no to an extra few quid a week, an extra few quid a month. I don't think anybody.
And
I don't think it's a fault of the policy. I think it's like that is how we are
as human
like
beings.
there's lots of stuff that we can do in society to reduce harm that we intentionally inflict, like on a general social scale.
Yeah.
But we're never going to get rid of everything.
No.
Like we're always going to have problems, we're always going to have things to deal with, we're always going to have pain and suffering and insecurity and misery and all the range of human emotions and the actions that come out of it.
Yep.
But we don't have to make it so awful all the time.
No. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to have a week off, a respite of it. It'd be nice. It'd be nice for somebody else's turn for misery. Get that black cloud off my house for a couple of weeks. I mean, for instance, these last couple of months in my house have been really bad. I mean, my wife had a real mental health crisis. We had to menopause and a mental health. We had to have a crisis team involved, and she was suicidal and everything. And she just turned the corner on that, and we're about to go back to work. And her friends paid for her to go for a spa in Bradford. She fell down the steps and broke her ankle.
Oh,
yeah. And I mean, not just broken, I mean, snapped a tib and a fib clean off her ankle.
Oh.
So she was in hospital for a week in BRI. I live in Farnley, so I'd have to go to work, come home, feed animals, then go over to hospital every day for a week. And then they had to operate on her, and she got plates and pins in her ankles, so she's off work with that, with leg up in her, with, I can't get up steps to the toilet, so there's a commode downstairs and stuff like that. And it's all like, when's it going to be somebody else's turn? Well, not that I wish ill on anybody, but it would just be nice for a bit of bad luck to stay away from me for a couple of weeks, just so I can reset and be ready for the next bout. But then I realise this is life. This is life, and I have to raw dog it. Even though I have a 12-step program, I can't go for a drink. I can't go for a spliff. I can't even go for a cig. I stopped smoking 15 years ago. And I can't go around punching people in the face because that's frowned upon. You know what I mean? So I have to raw dog it. I have to sit there with it and go, just help me get through this. Whatever I speak to, my higher power, whatever I speak to is my thing. And I say, you just need to get me through this. You need to help me get me through this today. And it's not been easy. So, an extra few quid won't change that. But it would for other people. But this is life. People, I deal with life differently. Well, I deal with life sometimes. I deal with grown up stuff like a 12-year-old. And I want to bury my head inside. I want to run away. I want to dig a big hole and hide in it, and then I want to kill myself. Because that comes in. I don't want to drink, but sometimes I just don't want to be here. So, when it comes to this, I suppose this goes back to what we were saying before about stuff that I can influence and stuff that I can't. There's stuff on my doorstep that I need to deal with rather than having to worry about shite out there. And I know that sounds selfish sometimes, but some days are fucking hard. In sobriety, some days are harder than they were when I was drinking. I can honestly say that they are harder than when I was drinking, but I don't drink to make it any better. You know what I mean?
Well, and it won't.
No. It's things come up here saying automatically leaving session in 50 seconds.
Well, we've done all my questions.
Right.
So this is the point where I throw it over to you. I mean, we're at time just about, but I'll give you the opportunity to talk about anything you might want to talk about before I sign off.
Right. Well, I've got 20.
So-
You're saying here I've got 20 seconds to talk about whatever.
All right.
I would
Go for it.
say-
Where can people find recovery
Right.
runners, first of all?
No, well, what I would say is, rather than that, I would say if anybody is struggling with absolutely anything, no matter what it is, ask for help. There's plenty of places out there. There's plenty of people like me who'll listen to you. Ask for help, no matter what it is. Do not suffer in silence. Always ask for help.
Thank you again to Dean for being my guest. Thanks as always to all my guests, and thanks to you, Leeds, for being my subject. You can find Recovery Runners at recoveryinleeds.org.uk/recovery-runners-community. Were you paying attention? What other guest on Working Hours has mentioned Recovery Runners before? If you'd like to contact me to answer that or for anything Working Hours related, then you can email me about the show at workinghourspod@western-studios.com. If you've not been reading the social posts, the free Working Hours podcast episodes will be no more at 200 episodes. So there's currently about 25 free podcast places left for people to grab an episode of Working Hours to themselves. Also, there's a newsletter for Working Hours now. So sign up to that either via LinkedIn or via the Western Studios website so that you can keep up to date with this show. Don't forget to hit that donate button on the Captivate player or go to ko-fi.com/working hours and chuck in whatever you can afford to help us pay our debts. Okay, that's me. Remember, listener, no matter what you do, it's impossible for you to understand anything that your salary depends on you not understanding. So try to work for peace and try to plan with kindness. Raise your voice, but reduce your impact. Cheers, ears. Take care out there and be kind to each other, Leeds. Working Hours is produced, recorded, edited, created and published by Simon Treen for Western Studios Leeds Limited. The music was The Bees from Chopin's Etudes, which is in the public domain and was taken from museopen.org. Remember Western Studios Leeds Limited when you're ready to start making your content in West Yorkshire. Follow Western Studios Leeds on Facebook, facebook.com/Western_Studios_Leeds, and on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/company/Western-Studios. Bookmark western-studios.com so you can see the latest prices and use my contact page to drop me a message about your own podcast project or Working Hours at any time from anywhere. Maybe you want or need a podcast host, co-host or narrator for your podcast project. Maybe you just need another voice for one or more episodes of your show. Podcasts are so much more than gossip, book promotions and marketing for online courses. Podcasts and other audio content get your online brand out there. Want to make some fundraising case studies? Want to have an audiobook or video course? Want to share your learning, knowledge and expertise in your field? Want to learn, teach or raise awareness of something general or particular? Want to improve internal comms with messages your staff might actually engage with? Or do you just want to brighten up the world with some entertaining content? Then make a podcast. If you're making your podcast within West Yorkshire, then think about making it with western-studios.com. Whatever your podcast questions or needs, get in touch with Western Studios Leeds.